Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Jai Radha Madhava prayers. Jai Radha Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज, आप सबका स्वागत है, आप सबका अभिनंदन है. हरे कृष्णा देवी.
Hare Krishna, dear viewers. So, Prabhuji is giving Srimad Bhagavatam class at the chapter level. So, please carefully do the Shravanam. Please join us for this Srimad Bhagavatam class and you can ask your questions towards the end. आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. Prabhuji, can we please offer the prayers now?
Yes. So let's also welcome some of the viewers here. Hare Krishna Vivek Patel ji, Hare Krishna Sudparod ji, Hare Krishna Ram Krishna Pilla, Muralidharan ji, and so many other devotees who have been joining us. Shaman Kumar ji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shishir Mandal ji, Dipankar, Sunil, Ranjit, Sonu. We have Seema Channa Mataji, Varun Chabra Prabhuji, Hina, Baga, Trishita, Chinmay, Mridul, and many other viewers. आप सभी का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन है.
Hare Krishna, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriyet Shavatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagvat Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be covering lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 18. Title of the chapter is Pṛthu Mahārāja milks the earth planet. And we'll be starting with the recitation of the first verse. Please join us. Devi, have you shared the link?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 18, Verse 1. Maitreya Uvacha Ittham Prithum Abhishtuya Rusha Paraspuritadharam Punar Avahir Bhita Sanstabhyatmanam Atmana. Translation by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The great Saint Maitreya continued to address Vidur. My dear Vidur, at that time, after the planet Earth finished her prayers, King Pṛthu was still not pacified, and his lips trembled in great anger. Although the planet Earth was frightened, she made up her mind and began to speak as follows, in order to convince the king. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This chapter has many amazing lessons today. So let's also cover some of the background, right? So of course, who's narrating this pastime of Maharaj Pṛthu? Maitreya Muni is revealing it to Mahatma Vidur. And this same narration was done, by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, who's fasting on the bank of Ganges, Yamuna ke tat pe baithe hain, to fast till death, right? And this is very auspicious time to do Shravanam of Srimad Bhagavatam during the month of Kartik, right? Urja means the one that is like highly, Urja relates to potency or energy. And during this Kartik Mass, any devotional service we perform, it's actually part of a sale. So a little, what do you mean sale? You give little, you get a lot. So here in this Kartik Mass, Shravanam of Srimad Bhagavatam is glorious, and it is bestower हमें भगवान की भक्ति मिलती है, pure devotional service. So we get rewarded with pure devotional service when we do Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam during this month of Kartik. And today happens to be very auspicious day, because in the Western world it is Rama Ekadashi, and on the Eastern world, India and other places, tomorrow it will be Rama Ekadashi. And then the coming week, right, Sunday starts the whole channel for the week. And this whole week, many glorious opportunities are there, because there is Diwali coming, right? And wonderful pastimes. And what was, again, we all understand Diwali from Lord Ramchandra's pastime. This is the day he returned back to Ayodhya. There is also another related pastime, that this was the day that Mother Yashoda, she bound Krishna, the one who is unlimited, with her love, her pure love. So Dam refers to rope, Udar refers to stomach. So another name of the Lordship is Damodar, one who is bound by a rope, on his belly. So again, we devotees like to every morning or every evening, at least once a day, do Damodar Ashtakam prayers, and we light a lamp. So this is Kartik. Many times people ask, what is Kartik Vrata, right? Kartika Devi is none other than Radharani. And this Vrata that bestows us, that rewards us the pure devotional service directly from the mother, Radharani, is just when we observe the Vrata. Vrata is, a vow that we can take. And this is so simple. All you have to do is, sing Damodar Ashtakam and light a ghee lamp. Now, sometimes people say, tell us some of the, because in this material world, everyone says, what's in it for me? So, one of the interesting thing is, everyone wants to offer the Lord, but they may not have so many things. Lord says, Pattam Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo Mai Bhaktya Prayachiti Tadham Bhaktyo Pṛthu Mahārāja Prayatatmana. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is saying that one can offer me with love. Patra, a leaf; Pushpa, a flower; Phal, a fruit; Toyam, little water. And when a devotee offers me with devotion, with love, with gratitude, I will accept it. And especially when during this month you offer even one leaf of tulsi, one tulsi leaf to the Lordship, it is like offering a diamond to the Lordship. So again, there is no wealth, gold and other things compared. So you can imagine that Lord is regarding even a small leaf. You don't have to have much wealth, but that leaf in the eyes of the Lordship is greater than a diamond that one can offer. So here, in today's class, again, we're continuing. So Shukdev Goswami is reciting this whole pastime of conversation between Maitreya Muni and Mahatma Vidur to Parikshit Maharaj. And in that assembly of sages, there is a sage by the name Sutta Goswami. And he later on goes to Naimisharanya, where in the assembly of sages, their spokesperson is who? Shaunaka Rishi, yes. And there, he is narrating this whole pastime of Pṛthu Mahārāja. And this particular pastime, what had happened was, after Pṛthu Mahārāja was coronated as the king, born from the body of a dead king, Vena, he was actually identified as a Shaktavesh avatar. And Shaktavesh means empowered incarnation. So किस तरह का आवेश लिया हुआ है, किस तरह की शक्ति का आवेश उन्होंने लिया हुआ है, किस तरह का empowerment उनको मिला हुआ है? It is the ruling power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes people say, oh, if there is a Shaktavish avatar of the Lord who's, the ruling power, then there must be a Shaktavish avatar of the devotional service, right? Because we all are seeking to engage in devotional service. Jivera Surupaya Krishnera Nityadas. So is there a Shaktavish avatar who's empowered with the devotional service, pure devotional service of the Lord? Yes, there is. And is none other than Devashi Narad, who's a Shaktavish avatar of the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as a transcendental spaceman, he wanders all over the universe, material and spiritual universe, glorifying as well as bestowing mercy on, the living entities who are suffering in this material world. And as Acharyas reveal, Srila Prabhupada reveals, the process is very simple to get to devotional service. All you have to do is raise your hands and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So after Maharaj Pṛthu was coronated as the king, there were various, Apsaras, Gandharvas, Siddhalokas, even, from the heavenly planet, demigods had come to glorify. And he, paid respects even to his servants, not just to these great personalities. They're saying, please continue to do your duty as I continue to do my duty, so that we can all, attain perfection. So it is not that one should just seek for their own perfection. As Prahlad Maharaj says, that I'm not so much worried about myself, my dear Lord, but I'm worried about these people in conditioned state of life who are trying to enjoy this material world, and in this process they are suffering. They do not know the formula of happiness. And so I feel compassion towards them, and I want them to be delivered. So this is mood of a Mahabhagavata. And of course, here Maharaj Pṛthu is encouraging everyone to engage in the prescribed duties, because prescribed duties and devotional service, bhakti, they go parallel together, right? So, Mamasmaran Yuddhacha, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, remembering me, fight. So we all have to carry out our prescribed duties based on our guna and karma. Chatur Varnam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagisha. Janam to bataya hi nahi hai Bhagwan ne. So we have to be very, very careful that it is not based on birth, but based on one's activities and the modes of material nature, how they influences one. Yes, and so when we prescribe, carry out our prescribed duty, just like Arjun, he was a family man, so he had the responsibility of of his family to make sure that he is able to provide sufficient for his family to sustain the family. He is also a Kshatriya, so as a Kshatriya, he has to fight in the battlefield at the Kurukshetra. So at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is, as a Kshatriya, carrying out his prescribed duty. But Lord Krishna says, Mamasmaran Yuddhacha. So first we have to, before carrying out our prescribed duties, we remember the Lord, right? And then we carry out our prescribed duties. And our actions are louder than words. Again, what kind of actions we engage in? They speak out more than the various words and various, big talks people could be giving. So here, Pṛthu Mahārāja, he is encouraging everyone. And however, he sees a surprise that the citizens are coming to him. They have become very thin. Their ribs are visible. And he's wondering, okay, how come, what is going on? Are they not doing their duty? They say, no, our dear king, we are carrying out our prescribed duties, but we are not getting enough crops. So then he contemplated the root cause, and he found out the root cause, that it was Mother Earth was not reciprocating. So he became angry. Because as a king, he was so powerful, he became angry at Earth, Bhumi Devi, right? So when we talk of Earth, the planet Earth, there is a presiding deity of planet Earth, known as Bhumi Devi. So he, decided to chastise her. So he picked up his bow and arrow as a Kshatriya, and he chased her. Now she is seeing that Pṛthu Mahārāja is coming to punish her, maybe kill her. She ran, but then she took the form of a cow, that, nobody should be engaged in cow killing. So maybe Maharaj Pṛthu will give up the chase, but he would not give up the chase. He became even more angry that she is trying to disguise herself as a cow, trying to show that, she should be, considered not the, culprit in this case. So as Pṛthu Mahārāja was chasing, she was finding that no matter where she goes in the universe, he was chasing her very efficiently. And so she became very fearful of her situation, and she, said, "Why are you chasing me? What have I done?" And then he's identifying that all the yajnas have been performed very nicely, but you are not returning, reciprocating, you're not giving the anna. So at that time, planet Earth, she reveals that actually there are a lot of non-devotees, who are using all the grains, all the resources from this planet Earth. So that's why I have hidden the seeds within my womb, right? And this is the reason that she is not giving it. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport very nicely explained that this is the current times, in modern times, this is what people are doing. They are using it for sense gratification, forgetting about Yajna Purusha, Lord Shri Krishna, and forgetting about the welfare of whole society. So if that thing happens, Mother Earth, she retrieves, she takes back her, such grains and other things, so that these resources are not available to non-devotees. And that creates a very troublesome situation for human society. So in this, again, Maharaj Pṛthu, understanding that this is the reason, he is still not very satisfied. And he says, "No, I need a solution because my citizens are carrying out their duties very nicely." So he has, of course, taken to notice that he has to make sure to chastise those non-devotees, to chastise those people who are engaged in sense gratification and falling down from their platform as human beings into an animalistic life, and they will be experiencing hellish future lives, right? So he is concerned, so he understands that. And then on top of that, he's still chastising Earth, saying that, no, you still have to reciprocate. And she is saying, at that time, she makes up her mind and she says, "My dear king." So this is where she expresses in this chapter that having made up her mind, she began to speak, the following direction to convince the king who is looking for the proper reciprocation from planet Earth. So she says that, "Please pacify your anger completely and please hear me patiently. Whatever I submit before you." So she's presenting her thoughts after having made a firm conviction that she is going to reciprocate provided there is a proper response from the other side. She is identifying, right? She is saying, "Please pay attention to this." She is saying that I am very poor, right? But a learned man takes the essence of knowledge from all places, just as a bumblebee collects honey from each and every flower. So again, she's using analogy that a bumblebee does not, differentiate. Oh, I have to only take it from roses. I won't take it from lotus. I won't take it from lily. Bumblebee sees, okay, honey is present, parag is there. I will go to the flower and get parag. So the motive, the essence is important. And Chanakya Pandit also says that an intelligent man, he collects, gold even from garbage. What he's saying is that the knowledge should be taken from whatever is the suitable source without regarding the condition it is in. And he is referring this in with reference to that a learned person, right, a man who's accepting a wife, even accepts a very good cultured, very nice natured, and who follows Vaishnava etiquettes and all the Hubili etiquettes, even from a lower caste. So again, it's not like, okay, a Brahman has to only accept a Brahmani, a girl who's married in a Brahman's family, but can also accept a girl in a Kshatriya family or a Vaishya family or Shuddha. But the purpose is that she should be very nicely cultured, very nice culture. She should be a suitable wife. So here she is identifying to benefit all human society, not only in this life but in the next. See, this is where the main difference comes, that people are so much seeking to enjoy in this life, they don't know that they are creating hellish condition in future life. In Shesh Upanishad, it is said that one who is in nascence, they fall into darkness, but who is developing so-called knowledge, not the bona fide knowledge, but they are just creating their knowledge based on perception, sense perception. And that is 99% of the knowledge that we see today in this material world, where people are, based on their sense perception, collecting different knowledge based on cause and effect that they observe with the senses. And the senses are defective. There are 4 defects in this material world. Our senses are limited, we are, as humans, are, there is a tendency to make mistakes, propensity to make mistakes, propensity to cheat, and then propensity to be deluded. So the philosophy that people create so much so-called philosophies, they even fall down to the darkest region, worse than the people who are in nations. So people are so much engaged in enjoying in this life, the current life, that they do not pay attention that actually, there is next life also. And atato brahma jigyasa, this is where the inquiry starts. What is the purpose of our life? Why are we here? Why are we suffering in this material world? Why are bad things happening to good people? All this. Why is there constant anxiety? So this we have to understand with proper perspective, as Acharyas explained. So we have three references that we always follow. Sadhu, the devotees of the Lord; Guru, the spiritual master; and Shastra, the bona fide scriptures. We should not just pick up any literature, but we should always take with the bona fide scriptures. And all bona fide scriptures in this age of Kali refer to one specific yajna, which is known as Sankirtan Yajna. Simply, congregational chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. तो कलयुग में भगवान की कृपा कैसे पाएं? Even in this particular chapter, which actually occurred in a different yuga, previous yuga, this secret is being revealed. And she is saying that I'm not just telling you this because the great seers and sages have prescribed various methods conducive to the prosperity of people in general. Right? Just like in Vedas, we see Ved, they refer to different category of people. It's like having a supermarket. And people, whoever want whatever, they go to that supermarket and get what they want. But in this supermarket, there are various shops. And you normally find that in a mall, if there are various different type of shops and you go to the diamond shop, you will find very few people there. Right? So similarly, 99.9% of Vedas refer to all this, in this material world, how to get what you want, just for the sense enjoyment. But the goal of Vedas is to attain pure devotion service, and that is like going to the diamond shop to buy a diamond, because pure devotion service is even more precious than diamond, because it can deliver us from this material world. People otherwise are saying, oh, how can I get a promotion? That's something they engage in. How can I get a beautiful wife? How can I get a beautiful husband? 16 सोमवार करते हैं भगवान शिव के लिए. How can I get a big house? How can I get promotion? But in this Kartik month, the whole devotional service, the whole diamond shop is on sale. Everything in the shop is on sale. So, you can, at the price of potato, you can get diamonds. All you have to do is take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the Vedic civilization, take advantage of the perfect knowledge present in the Vedas. And most of the information, which is Vedas, refer to Shruti. Right? From hearing, people could retain the whole Vedas. And then Puranas refer to Smriti. And Bhagavat is a Purana. So again, this Bhagavat Purana as a Smriti reveals the various pastimes so that that knowledge is present in a manner that we can easily remember it and practice it. So knowing it is part of knowledge, right? But then if you don't practice it, then you have not completely perfected your life, because the realization comes when you put into practice what you have learned, right? Just because you know how to make a wonderful, sweet delight, it doesn't mean that you can taste the sweet delight. So again, you may have the recipe, but you have to follow the recipe and the direction to make it and offer it so that it gets blessed, and then taste it so that you can relish that sweet delight. Just by looking at the menu, the recipe won't help you taste it. So, Srila Prabhupada, he gives the reference that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one poses himself as advanced in spiritual life, but does not refer to Shrutis and Smritis, he is simply a disturbance in society. And in current times, there are so many so-called scholars, right? They call themselves philosophers, analysts, and so forth, and leading to material enjoyment. And again, that's their goal. Eat, sleep, and be merry. And so-called gods, the people, they are in India, it is said that almost every street, every town or village, there is, someone calling themselves God. So that is also big cheating going on. So we have to be very, very careful. We should make sure that as a human society is concerned, we should follow Manusmriti. This written by who? Swayambhuva Manu. He is one of the Mahajanas. And because he gives these laws and he is the father of mankind, then sometimes people misinterpret this. Yes, Manusmriti on its own is perfect, right? Just like Vedas on its own, they are perfect. They contain transcendental message. However, we are imperfect, right? So when we misinterpret and misapply, wrongly apply that knowledge, it causes a lot of trouble, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of injustice. How can it cause injustice? Well, in Manusmriti, it is said that a person who has committed murder should be hanged, should be given death sentence. However, in human society, so many times it has been found that innocent people have been given death sentence because they were wrongly accused of having committed murder. So we have to apply the knowledge properly. And that's why Vedas are perfect, but the application of the Vedas by the people in Kali Yuga, in conditioned state of life with 4 defects: propensity to cheat, propensity to be delusion, limited senses, and humanism. Of course, they could not understand the purport, the essence of Vedas. So Lord, he appears as Buddha, right? As his Buddha incarnation, and he derides the Vedas so that this animal killing, the animal sacrifices stop, because that is causing much degradation in human society. And in this chapter, it's also given, only in the previous chapter as well, Srila Prabhupada says that only when there is no grain on this planet Earth, one may be allowed to, kill animals. However, the effect of Kali Yuga, as time will progress forward, the conditions are going to become very gruesome. Even though there is abundance of grain available, abundance of facilities available, people, just for the taste of their tongue, they would be killing animals. And yes, we see that slaughterhouses, they're slaughtering cows in the slaughterhouses. Cow is said to be the mother for the humans. And so humans are killing their mother just for the taste of their tongue. They're killing animals left and right just for the taste of their tongue, to satisfy their tongue. And it is said that in no time, people will be killing and eating other human beings as well. And we see the example, many Eastern countries where we see that people, they go and, the fetus, the dead fetus, they are, from the hospital, they are brought to the market, and people, they call that as delicacy. So this is demoniac life. These are demons who are, creating all this havoc by propagating and allowing human beings to be eaten by humans. So we have to pay attention, because the Vedic knowledge is to advance us spiritually so that we can get out of this material world. Because what are the 2 characteristics of a material world? Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So now, in the form of cow, Bhumi Devi, planet Earth, she is the presiding deity of planet Earth. She is revealing that one who follows the principle and instruction enjoined by the great sages of the past can utilize these instructions for practical purposes. Such a person can very easily enjoy life and pleasures. Yes. So this is what we have been talking about, that the Vedic principles of Mahajana Yena Gatha Pantha, it actually inspires us, urges us to follow in the footsteps of great liberated souls. Now you can follow in some footsteps of a great soul 2 ways. One is Anukaran, imitating their actions, or Anusharan, taking shelter of the instruction. Which of the 2 do you think is the proper way of following the footsteps of great liberated souls? If you said Anusharan, taking shelter of the instructions of the great sages, then you are correct. Yes, we have to take shelter of the instructions. And what is the prime instruction in this Kali age? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just by chanting of the holy name, one can perfect one's life. Srila Haridas Thakur says that even at Namabhas stage, not Shuddhana, Namabhas, when we can just get the perception, some, realization that the glories of the holy name, develop to build some awareness of the holy name, one can attain perfection. And at that time, there was, a tax collector, he challenged, and because people in this material world, they challenge and they try to stay in a relative and try to degrade devotees, they of course get, corresponding reward from the lordship. So that person ended up having leprosy. So we should be very careful. What to talk about devotees, which is Vaishnava Aparad, we should not even do Jana Aparad. We should not even commit offenses towards normal human beings. We should be very, very careful, because the spiritual life is meant for our internal development, not to tell others or point to others how they should develop. So again, it is for our self-improvement. It's a self-improvement program, so that we can perfect our life now, in this very life, and go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. And yes, once we are engaged in devotion service, the realization comes that we actually transcend ourselves from the three modes of material nature and rise above. Right? What are the three modes of material nature? Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Sattva guna, mode of goodness. Rajaguna, mode of passion. Tamoguna, mode of ignorance. And Acharyas say, actually, in this material world, everything is nuisance, right? And so, everything is very relative, and the two characteristics of this material world, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Everything is, place of this material world is a place of misery, and ashashvatam, it is temporary in nature. Now sometimes people say, oh, so it is, dukkhalaya. That means even the devotees would be experiencing dukkha. Now actually, devotees, they transcend, so they may be present in this material world, as devotees, we can be present in this material world, but we as living entities, Jivera Srupa Krishna Nityadas, Krishnera Tathastha Shakti Beda Beda Prakash. So we are the marginal potency of the Lord, which is much more, which is greater than the material energy, which is matter. And Maya refers to seeking sense enjoyment. So when we give up sense enjoyment and rather serve to please the senses of Rishikesha, the master of the senses, our life becomes perfect, because all our senses are automatically satisfied in the process. So we completely rise above the material nature of this world, and on a transcendental platform performing devotional service to please the Supreme Lord, Lord Shri Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Damodar, Shri Shri Radha Govindji, Shri Shri Radha Gopinathji, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohanji. When we are serving the deities, when we are serving the Lordship, when we are chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All our senses, all the environment around us, our very existence is spiritualized. We become transcendental when performing devotion service. So we are not in this material world. So the effect of this material world, dukkhalayam shashvatam, don't stay with us. It doesn't apply when we are in devotion service. That's what people say when we go to the temple, we feel very nice, right? We feel calm, we feel happy. It is very joyous environment. And especially in the month of Kartik, there are so many wonderful programs going on at the temple. Everyone is looking so jubilant. Everyone is offering, ghee lamps to the Lordship, to Shri Shri Radha Damodarji. Everything is looking so blissful. Yes, because temple is said to be in the transcendental space, right? Even though it may be appearing in this material universe, but it is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Jungles where the sages would establish their ashrams, suburban areas, they are in the mode of goodness, where one can start practicing devotional service very nicely, continue to do brahmacharya and so forth. And the city life, the work life, big offices, that's in the mode of passion. And all these brothels, slaughterhouses, clubs, wineries, all these places are actually in the mode of ignorance. So we should be very careful where we're spending our time, because when we spend a time at a specific modes oriented place, then we are associating with people with that mode. And the best place in this particular Kartik time is to be at the temple. And if you can't go to temple because of pandemic, then you can always make your home temple. Because Lord Krishna, or literature about Lord Krishna, or words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are non-different. And if you have Srimad Bhagavatam at your home, or if you have deities, or if you're chanting the holy name, there's 3 different forms Lord is present. So all we have to do is, doesn't take much effort, call out to the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Kala Shudra Sambhava. So in this Kali age, everyone is born as Shudra. Why? Because we have been born in the darkness of all the ages, right? Yet at the same time, we should not be manufacturing our own ways or means through mental speculation, right? Because in Ishobnishad, what is said? And who's singing Ishobnishad prayers, those 18 verses? None other than Vedas personified their singing. Where does Ishobnishad appear in the scriptures? It appears in Yajurveda. And they are saying that when people manufacture, those people who manufacture, speculative knowledge, based on sense perception, then they fall down worse in, darker regions or darkest region in this universe. That doesn't mean just hell. Somebody could have performed great yajnas to go into heavenly planet, but then mentally they would be in constant anxiety. There are 3 kinds of miseries, right? Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adhyatmik. So Adi Bhautik is miseries that come because of another living entity. Somebody hurts you, somebody says harsh words, somebody, cheats you. So that's Adi Bhautik. Then Adi Daivik is because of natural disturbances. Tsunami comes, flood comes. That is Adi Daivik from, demigods. Then Adhyatmik. Adhyatmik is from one's own mind. And this has a snowball effect. We intend to create mountain out of a mole. So we have to be very, very careful कि हमें राई का पहाड़ नहीं बनाना है. We don't have to create mountain out of mole. So 99% of the miseries that we create are created by our own mind. And this mind can be controlled. It needs to be controlled. And how can you control? Manatrayati iti mantra. The one that delivers the mind is called mantra, and the best mantra is Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we should not be engaged in speculative knowledge, because that, is not recognizing the authorities of sages who laid down the unimpeachable directions, is simply unsuccessful again and again in his attempts. So again, Mother Earth is revealing this to Pṛthu Mahārāja, that a person is unsuccessful in their attempt when they ignore Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. So again, she is referring to sadhus, but we all understand that all 3 references should be well aligned. So she is giving the instruction that, my dear king, the seeds, roots, herbs and grains which were created by Lord Brahma in the past are now being used by non-devotees who are devoid of all spiritual understanding. We can apply this and understand that yes, this is, most of the people living in this material world, especially on this planet Earth, we experience that they are so much into eat, sleep and be merry. How can I be satisfied? And for them, dharma is all about, means again, spiritual advancement when they look at it. Dharma Kam. They don't really, living in a normal life, they actually use dharma so that they can, by following different rituals, they get recognitions, name, fame and glories, and they can enjoy their senses. And artha, economic development, so that they, get salary or make whatever money they can for sense gratification. They really ignore the 4th piece, which is liberation, moksha. And worse are the folks that who try to merge into Brahman in the name of moksha. These are the Jnana Yogis, the impersonalists, the Mayavadis. And they fall down even below, right, than those who are in the mode of nuisance, in ignorance. Why? Because they are actually offenders at the lotus feet of Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita reveals this, that Mayavadis are even offended at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, because everyone wants to become rich, everyone wants to become beautiful, name, fame and glories, everyone wants to enjoy. But Mayavadis, they want to become God. They think that by merging into Brahman, they will become God. While Acharyas have revealed time and again that you can become godly, you can never become God. There is only one Supreme Lord. Lord Shri Krishna, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Radir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Shri Krishna is the Parameshwar, right? And he is the Sarva Karana Karanam, and he is a body of eternity, full of knowledge and bliss. So again, she is revealing that, my dear king, not only are grains and herbs being used by non-devotees, but as far as I am concerned, I am not being properly maintained. Indeed, I am being neglected by kings who are not punishing these rascals. Who is saying this? Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi, she is saying in the form of a cow that these people who are non-devotees, they are like rascals who have turned into thieves by using grains for sense gratification. Consequently, I have hidden all these seeds which are meant for the performance of sacrifice. So the grain that we get is meant for the sacrifice so that we can satisfy the Yajna Purusha, and there is a nice arrangement when we perform sacrifices. It is as oblations, it is received by the demigods and they become powerful. When they become powerful, and as part of reciprocation, they give us rain so that more grains can grow. And so there is a very nice partnership has been established between the human beings and the demigods. That's revealed in the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. And yet at the same time, one who does not offer any sacrifice is actually a thief and is liable to be punished. So we should all be looking for only one thing, to accept only prasad. Because when we eat prasad, we are purified. And if we don't eat prasad, then of course one is considered a thief. So it is very important for the administrator to ensure that the thieves are punished and innocent people, everyone is properly educated in spiritual science, in Krishna consciousness, so that they can maintain the world nicely, as well as people are not starving, they are engaged in spiritual advancement. But at the current time, the condition is so bad that people are killing animals left and right? And there is hardly any grain, vegetables or fruits. So it is said that, as I was revealing, that the time will come when people will be killing their own sons, fathers, and eating their fleshes for sustenance. So now, Bhumi Devi in the form of cow, Gau ke form mein, Bhumi Devi, she is revealing, due to being stocked for a very long time, the grain seeds within me have certainly deteriorated. Therefore, you should immediately arrange to take these seeds out by the standard process, which is recommended by the Acharyas and Shastras. So she is revealing that this is a standard process as revealed by the sadhus, by the Acharyas, by the Guru, by the Shastras, the bona fide scriptures. So we should follow these three references. And what is the process? So she is revealing this process. She is now calling Maharaj Pṛthu a great hero, protector of living beings. If you desire to relieve the living entities by supplying them sufficient grain, right? Because Pṛthu Mahārāja's concern was that my citizens performing their duties, you should supply them sufficient grain. So yes, she is telling that if you want to take this, if you desire to nourish them by taking milk from me. Why she is saying milk? Because that's what one gets from the cow. The most important ingredient one gets from the cow is the milk. So she is saying you should make arrangement to bring a calf suitable for this purpose. Now somebody could say, why does she need a calf? All she needs is a milkman, and the milkman would just milk the cow. No, actually she is revealing the process of milking the cow is when the cow sees her calf, she becomes affectionate towards the calf. And because of affection, the fat in her udder, transforms into milk. And then it becomes the suitable form of milk, which is very nutritious, very energetic. And then when you get the milk, of course, you have to put in a suitable pot as well. So she is also identifying that you should also have a pot in which the milk can be kept, as well as the milkman to do the work. So there are three things required to milk a cow. A calf, towards seeing the calf, the mother cow would become very affectionate. Then you have to have the milk contained in a suitable pot. And the third man is a milkman to milk the cow. So these three things are very important when you milk a cow. Today's time we see that machines are being used. And unfortunately, because these machines are being used, the milk that gets is extracted out has many undesirable elements in them, which is very harmful for the receiver, for the person who is consuming that milk. So now she also reveals another aspect to Maharaj Pṛthu. She is saying that the whole surface, entire surface of the globe is like up and down, right? There are lots of valleys and mountains and hills. So what happens when the rain falls, it immediately washes away, it goes, on the top of mountain, generally it rains, but because of the slope, it doesn't stay there. It just flows down to the valley and then, into the river and directly to the ocean or sea. So rainfall comes by the mercy of King Indra, but it will remain on the surface of the globe if you level the surface of the globe, right? So please make an arrangement to level the surface of the globe so that the earth will be moistened, and then in moist state, it will be auspicious for all kinds of production. So she's revealing that how planet, one can derive all kind of auspicious grains and fruits and vegetables from planet Earth on a level ground. So it was at this time that, previously she was saying that she has not been maintained properly. Srila Prabhupada reveals that she was not feeling that she was maintained properly because there was no arrangement. When somebody wanted to use earth for whatever reason, purpose, they were using it. So there was no proper township establishment. There was no proper, layout that, okay, this particular part of the land will be used for irrigation, this particular part would be used for cattle herding, this part would be used for, factories and city purposes. There will be a township like this. Some places we see nice townships, but then they are more focused on roads and houses and making the market arrangements. They don't focus on that extended piece, which is having identified areas for, crops and so forth. And when they are done, they should not be done, in a superfluous manner. They should be very nicely planned. So now we are seeing that, people are recognizing the importance of proper planning and keeping some area preserved for forests, some areas clearly designated, ready for, preserved for growing the crops, growing the vegetables and so forth. Yet at the same time, today's the kings and the leaders, they are like thieves. They see a nice piece of land. Oh, it's being used for the crop and all that stuff. No, no, no. We want to build up a high, skyscraper. So they just encroach that land and, somehow or other get people out of there and they build these skyscrapers or big balls, and that creates all kind of disturbances in the society. And all they are trying to do is cheat the citizens or people living in that area from all the good things and then, make them slaves in the long run. And this is the tendency in Kali Yuga. So we need to, understand that we should be very much careful, and all leaders have this responsibility on their shoulder. As planet Earth, Bhumi Devi is revealing to Pṛthu Mahārāja that, my dear King Pṛthu, as the ruler, as the leader of the society, you have to, carry out this given injunction. So after hearing the auspicious and pleasing words of planet Earth, the king accepted them. Yes, he understood. Yes, this is the right way to get anything from Bhumi in this form of a cow. I need to have a calf, I need to have, the right milkman, and also I need to have the proper pot. What does he want? He wants to get grains for his citizens. So he then transforms Swayambhuva Manu, the father of the mankind, as the calf. As we will see, there are three elements have been identified in this particular chapter. Because the arrangement is between the demigods and humans, and the grains are being provided through the rains, father of mankind is Swayambhuva Manu. So he turns into a calf. Planet Earth, seeing Swayambhuva Manu in the form of a calf, becomes affectionate on the planet, and then the king himself becomes the milkman, and he milks all the herbs and grains from the earth. So what is the form? Like the milk is in the form of herbs and grains, right? And then what was the container? He used his cupped hands. Now there is also significance. When he uses his cupped hand, basically whatever you can have in your hand, with hand like this, that is sufficient food for you to sustain you for a day. And of course on Ekadashi, like today, we don't eat grains, so we refrain from grains, but other like water, fruits, vegetables, they are allowed, but we should refrain from grain on Ekadashis. And the day on Dwadashi, when we break it with, grains, or fast on a given muhurat during the specific time for breakfast. So here, Seeing Maharaj Pṛthu getting all suitable things for his citizens, which is grains, vegetables, herbs, and so forth, all people who were intelligent in the universe, they understood that earth is capable of providing necessity for all kind of living entities. So they also took advantage and got the essence out of earthly planet. Now, saying essence out of earthly planets means what they decide from earthly planets. So they have to get three things. First is a calf towards which the earth would be affectionate. Second is a proper container in which to take it. And third is a proper milkman to milk the cow. So how is that being done by different kind of living entities? Now it's very important to understand that milk on its own is all energizing. Just like Vedas on their own are transcendental knowledge. But if it's used by a thug, right? We hear about the pastime of Jagai and Madhai. They were opening the Shastras to find out what are the most abominable sins and they were going and performing that sin. So it's the recipient of the knowledge, how they use the knowledge is also very important. Because yes, milk is very nourishing, but if you feed it to a snake, it will only increase the venom of the snake, which is poison, right? And a snake being envious in nature can bite you and kill you. So it is very dangerous. So the milk on its own is very important, nutritious food stuff. But by giving who is the recipient of that milk matters. Same milk given to a Brahman will develop the finer brain tissues, where the Brahman can, increase and reciprocate by studying the Shastras and Patan, right? And sharing the knowledge of the Shastras for the welfare of human society. That's why Brahmanas are also called the spiritual masters for the human society. So, what did the great sages do? They transformed Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the best of the priests. So, all these priests and sages, they transform Brihaspati into the calf. So, the best person among them is made into a calf and making senses into a pot. So, our five senses, they made a pot out of those five senses and they made all kinds of Vedic knowledge to purify, words, mind and hearing. And in this Kali age, to purify our words, mind and hearing, all we have to do is get the essence of the Vedic knowledge. And Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita reveals what is the essence, what is the purpose of Vedas. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo vedanta kridveda vida eva cham. Chapter 15, verse 15. One of the favorite verses that Srila Prabhupada used to refer to. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. Lord Krishna is revealing to Arjuna that I am sitting in the heart of all living entities. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes smriti, remembrance, jnanam, knowledge, and apohanam, even forgetfulness. Vedescha sarver aham avivedyo. So I am the purpose who is to be known by all the Vedas. So what is the purpose of the Vedas? Is to know about the Supreme Absolute. And that is none other than Lord Shri Krishna. Vedant krit ved videvam chaham. So again, he is saying that yes, the purpose of Vedas is to know me. I am the knower of Vedas. And again, as Vyasadev, who is a Shaktavesh avatar of the Supreme Lord, he wrote Vedas. So again, and he is fully aware, cognizant of the Vedas, which is transcendental knowledge. Veda means knowledge. So here, all kind of Vedic knowledge was derived by these great sages when they transformed Brihaspati into a calf and made the pot out of the senses. And they got all this Vedic knowledge. Now, demigods are never behind, right? They say, oh, we can also get something from this planet Earth. So all the demigods, they made, who's the best of the demigods? The king of the demigods? Indradev. So the king of heaven, they made him into a calf. And from the earth, they milked the beverage soma, which is nectar. Now sometimes people mistake the soma to be like a liquor. It is not liquor. And Hiranmayana Patrena is being referred here because it is collected in a vessel, it's in a container made out of gold. Hiranya means gold, Patrena means the container. Yes, some people may be saying, wait a minute, we have heard Hiranmayana Patrena in Shish Upanishad. What does it mean there? Well, it has a different meaning. There it is saying that the golden effulgence that is covering the Lord. So it is not that Lord is the effulgence, but it is the effulgence which is covering. And the Vedas are praying, my dear Lord, please remove this, Brahman effulgence that is covering you so that I may be able to see you. And to be able to see means that Lord has a beautiful form, and the Vedas are eager to see the form of the Lord. He has face, he has arms, he has shoulders, he has legs. His beautiful form. And the best form, Lord Krishna says, his original form is the two-arm form to Arjun. So again, here the demigods, they made Indra into a calf, and they received the beverage Soma, which is nectar, Amrit, and collected in a golden pot. Now the sons of Diti are called Daityas, right? And the demons, the Rakshasas. So Daityas and Rakshasas, they transform. Who's the best of the Daityas? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that among, he's telling who he is among different kind of things that we can see in this material world, so that we can see Lord everywhere. And among the Daityas, sons of Ditis or descendants of Ditis, the best is Prahlad Maharaj. So the Daityas and the Rakshasas, they transform Prahlad Maharaj into a calf, right? Because he was born in an Asura family. So it would be affectionate to see Prahlad Maharaj. And they extracted various kinds of liquor and beer and put it into a pot made of iron. So it was not that Prahlad Maharaj would take it, but the demons like to drink liquor and beer and all these abominable intoxicants. This is very interesting. In current, world, we understand that people who take, they call that these are intoxicants, right? Intoxication is the effect when you take intoxicants. So this is toxic in nature, but people like to drink, beers and liquors and wines and all these kind of things. So, and then they spend their time detoxing, right, their body from all these elements. Why take it? Prevention is better than cure. Why try to seek cure when you can prevent it altogether by no intoxication? Just follow the regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. These 4 regulative principles, and chant minimum of 16 rounds daily. And on special days like Ekadashi and other times, chant minimum of 25 rounds. There is no limit set on the maximum. So you can chant all day long. But to be able to chant all day long, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there is still 4 things that you should have. Tranadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals in the 3rd verse of Shisha Shastakam the formula how we can get love of Godhead, pure devotion service. Taradapi sunichena, become more humble than the grass on the street. Tarorapi sahishnuna, become more tolerant than the tree. Trees is in Sanskrit are called vriksha. The meaning of vriksha is one is that is meant to be cut down, but tree never stops giving. When it is growing, at that time it gives fruits, vegetables, leaves, branches. And when it is cut down, it enables us to make houses, furnitures, and various kind of other, elements. So, be more tolerant than the tree. It does never, when someone is cutting it down, it doesn't say, why are you cutting it? It's very tolerant. And amanina, not expecting respect from others. Manadina, ready to give all respect to others. One can chant eternally, Kirtaniya Sadahari. And Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam, kala nashteva nashteva nashtev gatiranyata. In Brihad Naradya Purana, it is revealed that by the chanting of the holy name, by the chanting of the holy name, by the chanting of the holy name, Hare Nam, why is it called 3 times? For stress, showing the importance that it is the chanting of the holy name is very important. Kevalam is the only process. Kala nashteva nashteva nashteva. It will clear away the effects of this Kali age. It will destroy the effects of this Kali age. It will vanquish the influence of this Kali age. Gatir Andyatha, and there is no other way. So this is revealed in the Shastras, that there is no other way but to take to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But here we see the example of Daityas and demons people who are demons by nature, demonic nature, they are extracting liquor and beer and all kind of wines, and they're putting it into a pot of iron. So based on the type of thing that you get, you have to have a suitable iron. So you can imagine soma is kept in a hiranyapatra, a pot of gold, while wine and liquor are put in a pot of iron. Now Gandharva Loka and Apsara Loka, the residents from there, they made their king Vishwavasu into a calf, right? And then they drew the milk into a lotus flower pot. And from this, the milk that took the shape of sweet musical art and beauty. Apsaras are known for their beauty and dancing, and Gandharvas are the great artists. They sing very nicely and so forth. So they received whatever was they wanted based on identifying Vishwavasu as the calf and milking into the lotus pot, right? A suitable pot. And so next is Pitralok, and Aryama is the presiding deity of Pitralok. So the fortunate inhabitants, why are they considered fortunate? Because at Pitralok, people who die, they stay at Pitralok waiting for their turn to be able to see Yamraj, and it takes them a long time. A day, 24 hours in a Pitralok is like a year on this planet Earth. A day is as long as 6 months, and a night is equally long. So that's a year on the earthly planet. So the fortunate inhabitants of Pitralok, who preside over the funeral ceremonies, made Aryama, the presiding deity of Pitralok, into a calf. And with great faith, they milked Kavya. Kavya is the food that is offered to the ancestors. So Pindadan ke samay mein Kavya is the food offering into an unbaked earthen pot. So जो पिंडदान करते हैं ना, उसमें जो कव्य ऑफर किया जाता है वो अनबेक्ड अर्थन पॉट पे होता है, बेक्ड अर्थन पॉट में नहीं होता है. So they were able to derive the food to sustain the residents of Pitralok, the forefathers. After this, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka as well as the inhabitants of Vidyadharloka, they transformed the great sage Kapila. Kapila is said to be the perfect human being into a calf, and making the whole sky into a pot. So, they made the whole sky ether into a pot, and they milked out specific yogic mystic powers, beginning with Anima. So, Anima, Laghima, Mahima, all these mystic powers, they are interested in attaining this mystic power at Siddhalok and Vidyadharlok. So, again, they are trying to get all these mystic powers, yogic powers. Indeed, the inhabitants of Vidyadharlok acquired the art of flying in the sky. Sometimes people say, oh, that is very nice. I wish I could fly in the sky. Well, birds fly in the sky, but they are not considered very intelligent and they are not spiritually conscious. So you have to be careful, Be careful what you wish for, you might get it, and that will cause further miseries. So we should be very, very careful. As human beings, we are actually in a much more glorious spot because, if someone is, as Chanakya Pandit says, if someone is poor, all his qualities are nullified. So it doesn't have a good quality. And if someone is too rich, just like during Damodar month, we hear about the pastime where Devashi Narad, he curses Nalkuvara and Manigriva. So Nalkuvara and Manigriva, they were cursed to become into trees, to turn into trees. But then being compassionate, Devashi Narad said that you will be able to, get liberated from that tree life and go back to your current position by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. So we hear about deliverance of Nalkuvara and Manigriva in Damodar Leela. So because one has too much name, fame and glories, one's good qualities are overtaken because one gets bewildered in an aristocratic family, where everything is very easily available. So here we see that we should be happy in whatever situation, because as human beings, we have been provided this human body, which is a perfect boat to cross over this ocean of nuisance. And yet at the same time, we see yogis, they are looking after these yogic siddhis, just like the residents of Vidyadharloka. And so they follow the eightfold yogic mysticism, starting with yam, prohibitions you should not do, niyam, regulative things that you should do, then asana, sitting postures, pranayam, the breathing exercises, pratyahara, to detach yourself from the external things, and then dharan, establish yourself in a specific posture so that you can, develop to the level of dhyan. Dhyan is meditation, and then samadhi is where dhyan is, focus, and then samadhi is the full meditation, constantly engrossed. Yet at the same time, the yogis are meditating on Paramatma, who is super soul in the heart. Yet at the same time, a devotee who's always remembering the Lord, always engaged in devotional service, is also in samadhi. But that is the true realized samadhi, because it is anukulena Krishna anushilinam. As Lord Krishna desires, so does the devotee, provides or engages in, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why it is said that Krishna Bhakta Sadaiva means again Ateva Shanta, because Nishkama. So again, when does not seek sense gratification, a Krishna Bhakta devotee of the Lord, Nishkama Sadaiva means Ateva Shanta. So that's why he's very peaceful. Japti Bhukti Mukti Yogi Kami Sadaiva Ashanta. So again, a person who is bhukti, bhog, he is trying to enjoy his senses. Siddhi, a person who is like a, Ashtang yogi, trying to acquire everything. Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi Kami. And Mukti, people who are seeking liberation, merging into Brahman. They are all Kami, they are all seeking, they are all lusty. And they are Sadaiv Ashanta, they are constantly disturbed, they are never peaceful. So here, further, seeing that planet Earth can provide the necessities of all living entities, there are people, the inhabitants, the residents of the planets known as Kim Purusha Loka. Kim Purushas. Now, who are Kim Purushas? Kim Purushas are ones who have, half of the body, either the head of an animal and then the remaining body of a human being, or the head is that a face of a human being and then the remaining body is that of an animal. So that is a Kim Purusha. And the demon Maya is, also a Kim Purusha. So he's turned into a calf. And so the inhabitants of Kim Purusha Loka, they milked out various kind of mystic powers, for using which, these mystic powers are like disappearing from one place, appearing at another place, take on different forms, different type of other bodies and images and so forth. They can take that. So they derive what they seek. So beauty is in the eye of beholder. So we have to understand what we seek in life, planet Earth can provide. But for a non-devotee, it is very harmful, because that will cause further fall down. Just like we see, then the yakshas, rakshasas, ghosts and witches, who are inhabited to eating what? Flesh, blood. They are habituated. Right? So they transform Lord Shiva's incarnation, Rudra, Bhutanath, into a calf, and milked out beverages made of blood and put them in a pot made of skull. So we are seeing the suitable pot has been identified by the various kind of living entities, for what they are designing. Thereafter, cobras, snakes without hoods, large snakes, scorpions, and many other poisonous animals. They took poison out of the planet Earth as their milk. So based on what nourishes individual times, in case of snakes, they are seeking out poison, and they kept poison in snake holes. And who was their calf? Takshak. Was the calf made by the poisonous snakes, cobras, and so forth. Then the four-legged animals like the cows, they made calf out of the bull, who carries Lord Shiva, Nandi. So again, Nandi is the bull. So he's made it to a calf. And then the four-legged animals, they made a milk pot out of the forest. So in the forest, they get all their things to sustain themselves. And what are these things? They get fresh green grass to eat. While the ferocious animals like tigers, they transformed the king of the forest, the lion, into a calf. And so they were able to get flesh for milk. So they sustained on flesh, so they got flesh. Then the birds made the king of the birds, Garud, into a calf. and took milk from this planet Earth, Bhumi Devi, in the form of cow, and in the form of what? What do birds like to eat? They like to eat insects and non-moving plants and grasses. So that's what they received as their milk. The trees, they made a calf out of the banyan tree. Of all the trees, Pargat ka jo ped hota hai, banyan tree is the best. So that was made into a calf. And so they derived milk in the form of various delicious juices. Now, why juices? Because that's what they eat through their roots. The nutrition the tree gets is through their roots. So there is one living entity among 8.4 million species, the trees related living entities, they drink from their legs, right? All other living entities eat from their mouth. Some, even the skin absorbs things, but through the legs are the trees that eat, so this has been identified. And the mountains, they transform, who's the biggest mountain, the tallest mountain, Himalayas, into a calf. And they milled a variety of minerals into a pot made of the peaks of hills. So at the peaks of mountains and hills, there are various minerals found. And that's what, they milled out of this planet Earth. So in this way, planet Earth supplied to everyone their respective food. Whatever is needed, this planet Earth is suitable to provide us, right? And this is also revealed in the invocation mantra of Ishopanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamivavashishyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is all perfect and is perfectly complete. And all emanations from him are also perfectly complete. So again, even this material universe, and within this universe, this planet Earth that we have is also perfectly complete to meet its purpose. Similarly, we human beings, in the form of a human body, we living entities, have this human body which is also perfectly complete as a boat to cross over this ocean of nescience. So it is not saying that perfect means you have to have all of the qualities. You have to have suitable qualities so that you can attain your goal. The purpose of this life is to get love of Godhead. So similarly, planet Earth has sufficient, ability to nourish and provide for all living entities living on this planet Earth. Yet at the same time, people who are not aware of this fact, they exploit this planet Earth for sense gratification, and they create a very miserable situation for all living entities, right? So इस कलियुग में ऐसे घोर अंधकारमय जगत में how can we find happiness, how can we find peace, how can we get the mercy of the Lord? हम भगवान की कृपा कैसे पाएं? It is very simple, just by performing the yajna suitable for this age. The Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the congregation chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So during the reign of Maharaj Pṛthu, the earth was perfectly in his control, and everybody, all the inhabitants of this earth, they could get the food supplies, by creating various types of calves, and they're putting their particular types of milk in the suitable pots. So in this way, everyone is able to get everything that is suitable. Then Mathya Muni is saying, my dear Vidu, chief of the Kurus, in this way, King Pṛthu and all the others who subsist on food created different types of calves and milked out their respective eatables. Thus they received their various foodstuffs which are symbolized as milk. Therefore, King Pṛthu, seeing that earth is supplying everyone suitable for their nourishment, for their sustenance, he became very satisfied. So he treated her just like his own daughter. So among all the relationship of father, he cares for his daughter very dearly. So that has been identified here, that he became very compassionate. And so, following her second part of the instruction, he leveled all the rough places on the surface of the earth by breaking up the hills. Normally this work is performed by King Indra, but King Pṛthu took it on himself that he has to level the rough surface of the planet earth so that the earth becomes moist and suitable for all kind of cultivation, for all kind of crops that can be grown, all kind of vegetables and fruits can be grown from this level flat land. So that has been identified here. And all the citizens of the state, to them, Maharaj Pṛthu Maharaj was as good as father. So he really treated his citizens. So that doesn't mean just the human beings. That his citizens, the definition in the Shastra is anyone who takes birth in your kingdom. So King Pṛthu was the king of this planet Earth. So any living entity who had received an embodied, received a body on this planet Earth, who was born in this planet Earth, was a citizen. So to them, King Pṛthu was providing them everything. So that's the function of a father. So he was as good as his father, and he provided them what they needed, and also he identified clearly the places, different places for residential quarters, as much as desired for the living entities to live. He also founded many villages, settlements, towns, and even forts, residence for cowherd men. So again we see Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna was there, it was actually residence for cowherd men. And stables for animals, places for royal camps, mining places, agriculture towns and mountain villages. So all these places were established by King Pṛthu. So prior to this, there was no such arrangement. Things were going in a haphazard manner previously. So he established things very nicely. So this is where this particular chapter, is ending. But Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice purport where he says, from this statement it appears that the town and city planning is not new, but has been coming down since the time of King Pṛthu. In India, we can see regular planning methods evident in very old cities. In Srimad-Bhagavatam, there are many descriptions of such ancient cities. Even 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna's capital, Dwarka, was well planned. And similar other cities, Mathura and Hastinapur, now New Delhi, were also well planned. Thus, the planning of cities and towns is not a modern innovation, but was existing in bygone ages. So this is where this chapter ends, where we understand that there are two main purposes, right? Planning of the cities by the leaders, and then having the level grounds to do, to cultivate crops, grow fruits and vegetables, should be done accordingly in a suitable manner. And then cows should be maintained so that we humans can receive milk, which is, when taken with proper consciousness, can develop finer tissues so that we can engage in spiritual advancement. So the finer tissue of the brains enable us to receive, to be, recipient of the Vedic knowledge with proper understanding. And the essence of the Vedas is to understand Lord Shri Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karanam. So in Kali Yuga, in these times where this is the darkest of all the ages, Bhagwan ki kripa kaise paye? How can we get mercy of the Lord? So there are two ways, right? Mercy is also known as prasad. So whatever food stuff that we prepare, we should first offer it to the Lordship and then accept it as prasad. Prasad means mercy. Prasad का मतलब होता है कृपा. भगवान की कृपा हमें ऐसे मिलती है प्रसाद से. Or second is by taking to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is where this chapter ends, and we should take on our responsibility, and everyone has a responsibility to carry out their duties very nicely as enjoined, as dictated by Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. So these three references should be our guiding principles. They should be our guide so that we can follow the principles as given in the Shastras, as per the instructions of the Acharyas and Sadhus. So here, this is Kartik time, and during Kartik time, everyone is meditating on Damodar Leela. Ujjavrata is lighting a ghee lamp daily and singing Damodar prayers. And Damodar Ashtakam, the 8 verses, were written by Vyasdev himself, right? So this appears and has been revealed in the Padma Puran. So again, that has also been given. So this is all coming to help us. So we should understand what is the purpose of Vedas, what is the purpose of this life, human form of life, and why we should take to the chanting of the holy name, because it is for our own purification. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is where the chapter ends. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Pad ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.